Hi, good afternoon. My name's Simon Hayter, and today's tutorial is about VMware ESXi server and installing ISOs and downloading ISOs using SSH and WGET, and then installing them in the vSphere client for ESXi server. So the first thing we need to do is we need to enable SSH. By default, this is disabled. If you have enabled it, then you can forward ahead and skip this step. So the first thing you need to do is log into your ESXi server using the vSphere client. Make sure that you've got the client, the server itself highlighted and not any of the virtual machines. Head over to the tab Configuration, click Security Profile. Then at the top right, we want to do Properties on Services. Scroll down to SSH, click it and click Options. Now you've got two options. You can start it automatically every time your ESXi server loads up, or you can just start it the once, which I'm going to do by clicking Start, so I don't need to open all the time. So click OK, click OK. Now what we need to do is load up a terminal. So in this case I'm using Putty. If you're using Mac or Linux, then just load up your terminal and connect via SSH. So I'm going to type in the IP address of my local ESXi server. If you've got a domain or a VPS, then type in the address. So I've typed in my IP address. I'm just going to change the appearance just purely for this video. Let's open that, move that into there, minimize that. Type in your credentials. So in this case I'm logging in as root. Type in my password. Now, unlike some other SSH, you normally end up in the home folder. Because we've logged in as root, we're actually in the root, so we don't have to come out of that. Now there's actually two places you can do a wget for the ISOs. The first one, which is not the one I'm going to be using, but I'll show you where it is: cd VM images, ls it, cd tools hyphen ISO images, ls, and you can see I could do a wget on there and basically download more ISOs and keep them in there. I don't really like that because that comes with VM tools, and I prefer to keep them in the data store. So let's head over to the data store, which is cd vmfs, ls it, cd volumes, ls it again, and the one we want is cd data store 1. If you have got multiple data stores, then by all means go into the one you want. I'm going to do an ls. So on the right hand side here you can see I've got my virtual machine. If you've got lots, then obviously within your data store you're going to get more results. I've also made a folder earlier called ISO, which I'll show you in a moment. So I'm just going to make a file called temp. So make dir temp. Let's go into that folder. Let's load up Firefox. Let's download, I'll show you how to download Ubuntu server. So I'm going to click download there. I'm going to wait for the pop-up. I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to right click, copy link, minimize that, go back into your terminal, do a wget, paste in the address of the ISO. So as you can see, that's now downloading. I'm not going to wait, even though it will only take 3 minutes. I'm going to cancel out of that because I actually did download it earlier, so you don't have to sit there waiting for me to download the ISO. So I'm going to come out of that folder. I'm going to remove that temp file folder just to keep it clean. cd ISO, ls it, and as you can see I've got the Ubuntu 14.04 server AMD64 ISO. So I'm satisfied, that's ready to go. So I'm going to exit out of the terminal, go back into vSphere, What we want to do is file new or create a new virtual machine here. So new virtual machine, typical settings, click next, 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 unless you need to change them. Going to click Linux. I'm going to click Ubuntu. If you are using another version of Linux, it's not listed. Just do other Linux 64-bit. Most of the times it works. So click next, click next, click next, click next. Okay, so we've got our new virtual machine here. I'm going to give it a few seconds. Going to rename it to Ubuntu, which is 14.04 server LTS. First thing we want to do is don't fire it up. We want to do edit settings. If you need to change the amount of memory it's allocated or the CPUs, then by all means change that. The thing we want to change here is the CD drive. We want to tell it to use an ISO. So click data store ISO file, click browse. If you stored it in the VM images, then by all means go in there. In our case, we've used ISO. So I'm going to click Ubuntu. OK it. Now the important thing to do here is click connect at power on. Otherwise it's going to try and boot from the network, or well, eventually it will time out and say no operating system installed. So I'm going to click OK on that. We're going to power it up. Head over to going to click performance quickly. Yeah, it's initializing. It does take a while to initialize. So I've clicked console so we can see what's going on. Depending on the speed of your ESXi server and your network would determine how quickly this initializes, but first time installing from an ISO, I find that it is rather slow, but you may find it fast if you've got a better server than me. It's doing something because the megahertz is actually right up. Oh, did that actually work then? I think it did. And there we have it. As you can see, it's now gone into the Ubuntu server setup. Obviously that initial wait you wouldn't have every single time you load up that virtual machine. It's only because it had to initialize and it was reading the ISO file. Not too sure why it was so slow, but it may be because my server sucks. But I hope the tutorial's been helpful, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.